Let me just mute notifications. I'll put myself into do not disturb. Awesome. Well, we're live. I need to pull up a Facebook page on the other screen here so I can see if it's running and all that kind of good stuff. We're live on YouTube. It's announced. I can see that we're live on my page.
All right.
I guess it's just a knowing, really. You know that this shit is going down. So, let me see. Hit my YouTube channel a sec and just see if that one's going, because I don't see lives here at the moment. Oh, here we go. There's live. But we should see if we can do some music or something in the background next time.
Oh, can you not hear it? I got Billie Jean playing over my headphones.
Oh, I could hear Billie Jean, yeah.
Oh,
you know, I'm on the wrong channel. Let me go and subscribe to my own channel. Oh yeah, I can see we're live there now, so that's cool.
My eyes are terrible. I need some glasses. Happy New Year's, Michelle. Hope you're having a fantastic New Year's Eve day. Oh, shoot. It is after midnight on the East Coast. Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year, East Coast.
You know what my New Year's resolution has been, Tristan, since I was in the second grade? No joke, true story.
Tell me.
It's been to stop cussing. The longest I made it was in 2012. I went 3 full days, bro. And I got messed up from playing Call of Duty.
That's great, dude.
That'll get you. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if I can see how long I can go cold turkey. It's always been just a kind of a fun little tradition.
Yeah. Well, enjoy the next hour and 50 minutes or whatever you got. 3 hours.
I've got about 3 hours and 50 minutes left.
Fantastic. So cool. Well, Michelle, we're just here. We're just jamming a little bit, giving some people some opportunities. You're already in on these games, but we just wanted to connect, kind of talk about our last year. Not to boast or anything, but just kind of see what we've seen in the world around us through our communities, and just kind of chit chat for a while, and then go over a new podcast that we're going to be working on together. So Jesse, what have you been up to this year? Tell me what your business year has looked like and how it's changed.
Oh my gosh, dude, it's been insane. Actually, I just in the last, I guess we could just call it 12 months. Yeah, in the last 12 months, the amount of just like personal development and growth that I have went through has been at least 10 years worth. It has been absolutely insane, man. And the people that I've been able to connect with and communicate with and learn from and with and grow together has just been absolutely insane, man. And I've never been a person who reads books. I hate reading books. I didn't start reading books until this year, man. And I am such a huge advocate of getting in there and reading books.
So what was it like learning to read at this age?
You know what? I'm going straight to the audibles, my friend.
Yeah. you like somebody telling you a story. I get it.
Luckily, I've got a transaction coordinator who can read me the contracts.
That's awesome. That's incredibly important. So
yeah.
It's funny you talk about that because I've just locked my screen a second. We have the Audible is just phenomenal. Can you see my Audible library here?
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. I started probably a year and a half ago doing Audible, and I think I've got some books that I've just got to get started. I've actually just read this one. This one's finished. 12 and a half. I read that listened to that over the last kind of week and a half. Gary Vaynerchuk. Amazing book. I just love the way this guy speaks and how he is really just so connected with people and connected with himself, more importantly. He was saying how much he needed to lean into kind candor, which is one of the 12 traits that he speaks of, or is actually that's the half trait that he speaks of. He's talking about the emotional intelligence of life skills towards business and life, and how he handles situations, how he identifies and sees what he needs to use to speak to somebody, or to whether it's disciplining somebody or giving feedback. He was always thinking that he had to buttercoat things and that kind of stuff. But it's really talking about his journey of adapting and becoming more self-aware, and which of these skills that he kind of had unknowingly in the beginning, and those that he developed over time. The Millions Within. The guy that read this, Lynn Benson, very old school kind of classic sounding voice, almost like a Think and Grow Rich type era sound to the recording. But again, just looking at the millions, not necessarily financial wealth, but other areas of wealth. Man's Search for Meaning, dude. I'd never really read any books about the Second World War from the perspective of any reason, really. And this was about Viktor Frankl, who was a internationally renowned psychiatrist who was captured in the Second World War. Went through Auschwitz and a couple of other camps, and came out the other side to tell the tale. He lost his manuscript for his book, which he had with him when they took him on the train to Auschwitz. Of course, he had to drop all of his clothes, lost that in the clothes, and then he was studying, unknowingly studying those around him and the behaviors which kind of ran into the book that he'd been writing in some ways, but gave him a very different angle on that. Just an emotional read for sure. Tribes, We Need You to Lead Us, Seth Godin. Phenomenal book about growing communities, kind of getting people together. You'll probably hear the additional band rehearsal in the background here. Wallace D. Wattles, another kind of classic book from many years ago, 1910, that was published. But I've been on a big journey the last 2.5 years.
Oh, it looks like it.
Some of these are really dry, a little bit too dry for me when I was reading them, but I went through them regardless. Deep Work, that was very, very dry. And the other one that was kind of The Road Less Stupid, Keith Cunningham, very good book, but I need to go through those two again specifically. But yeah, I need to update my book list. I've got a where is it? I've got a book suggestions gallery here with books that I really enjoyed and really got on well with. I actually haven't read Clockwork. That just got in there. The Big Leap is in there to read. I haven't read that one, but that's going to come up very soon. But which one's been most memorable for you?
Dude, easy. I think it's going to be two books I actually just recently read. One of them being David Goggins. The Goggins, dude. Have you read his book, Can't Hurt Me?
It's right there, bro.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
If there's anybody watching this who's looking for a book to start this, like tomorrow, start it tonight. This has been single-handedly just the biggest asset in terms of mindset and clarity and really understanding just what your true potential is. He talks, I'm not going to spoil it. I mean, I could go on all night just talking about this book, but he's got this thing called the 40% rule. And he's basically just saying that a lot of times when you, let's say you get home from a stressful day at work, or you're in the gym, and whatever situation you're going through, you hit a limit, right? When you're like, okay, I've had enough. Let's say that you get home from work, and you know that you need to be, working on your business or working on your goals or whatever, but you're just done. You're exhausted. It's been a long day at the office. You've got kids you got to deal with. Making dinner, everything that goes along with, the evening activities if you got a family. And when you've just had enough, when you feel like you've hit that wall, you're really only about 40% of what your true potential is.
Absolutely.
When you feel like you're done, when you feel like you're at your 100% max level, you're really only about 40% done. He talks about the fact that your mind will quit long before your body does.
Yeah.
And this guy is like an ultra. I mean, you read the book. I mean, he's like an ultra marathon guy. I mean, he was at 300 pounds at 2 different times in his life, went on to be a Navy SEAL. And he talks just about that transformation that he went through in the mindset. And he calls it callousing his mind.
Yeah.
So he goes and does these things. He'll go run an ultra marathon. He'll go run 100 miles with absolutely no preparation. Now, a lot of people listening to this might think, oh, well, that's terrible for your body. Your body needs to recoup and needs to all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter. The point of running 100 miles isn't to get you into shape. It's not has nothing to do with physical. It's all mental.
Yeah.
So when you go and push your limits, all of a sudden, some of those things that you thought were daunting tasks, all of a sudden, aren't as mountainous as you thought they were.
Yeah, I love the way that the book was narrated by Adam, and he was part of the narration, kind of filling in the some additional details.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really love the audiobook.
Really great way of doing it.
100%. I've never seen another audiobook that was done like that. So I thought it was really valuable. I loved it.
Yeah.
How about you, Tristan? If there was one book, I mean, you've got looked like 20 books in there at least that you've read this year. What's one book that you would recommend to anybody watching to really kick this new year off? Whether it be financials, whether it be just mindset, learning a new skill, negotiating. I see you got Never Split the Difference there. What would you recommend and why?
I think that, I mean, it wasn't one that I read this year, or I have read it a couple of times this year, but the first time I read it was The Go-Giver. But in the last 2 months or 3 months, I bought the other Go-Giver books, which was The Go-Giver Leader, The Influencer, and there was another one in here, which was Go-Givers Sell More, I believe it was called. Here it is, Go-Givers Sell More. I just love the way that they put very meaningful storylines into this book, story told with characters that are really warm and that you can really connect with on an emotional level when you're reading the books. I think it was with I can't remember if it was The Influencer or The Leader, where there was a character called Coach, and it reminded me of what was his name? Tim, the guy that was the coach for the basketball player that passed away. Cody, was it Cody Bryant?
Yes.
Yeah, it was his coach, Tim. I've got an email from him somewhere here today. You
got an email from his coach?
Tim Grover. So Tim Grover was one of the guys that was at the Thrive event. So he was basically not the physical coach for Bryant, but he was the sort of the mental fitness coach, if you like, the guy that took care of his goals and the winning aspect of things. He had other coaches for the physical stuff, but he was obviously there for a lot of the physical stuff. But this was the guy that was beside him, most of his career, because he said he was good for training on the court and the physical strength, but he needed something else to take him to the next level. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And this guy spoke at Thrive this last month, and he was very, very kind of very classic, kind of not a hard ass, but a very firm, strongly spoken gentleman, mm-hmm. with a lot of heart in there as well. And I think that the personality of people like this is determined by how they're perceived off the court. But the players love these people. The coaches, they may be known as hard coaches, but mm-hmm. they've got a very personal connection with each of the players, the people that they work with, their mentees.
Yes.
And it was just an amazing book. But the character in the Go-Giver book reminded me of him somewhat, because there were so many gems of warmth in there, but it was a very stylized kind of message that was coming across. But if it was one book, the one thing But probably Who Not How. I think Who Not How was probably the most meaningful book. At least it was the right book at the right time for me that
Really?
determined that, right, it's time to scale and outsource or delegate stuff. So that's when I really worked even harder on bringing other people into my business that could support what I'm doing, take some of the stress off trying to do everything,
Yeah.
and compliment me rather than me just trying to compete with my time for everything.
Yes. Yes. So who would you say, like, what kind of audience member would this benefit the most? I mean, can anybody reading this, regardless of what they're trying to do or what they're trying to accomplish, whether they're a business owner or they're working in the corporate world or whatever, is this something that anybody can read and take from? Or
Absolutely. I mean, there's definitely a business element to it, but it got me thinking about, should I get a guy to cut the grass? Should I get somebody to, clean the house and that kind of stuff? And there's balances between, because I've always grown up in the mindset of, oh, what, not that somebody's lazy for not doing it, but why don't you just do it yourself? Do you know what I mean? And maybe that's an independent streak that I have. I've always been very independent. It's always, I'll just do it myself. But then you add in all of these things that you're trying to do around your life, and it's like, I haven't got time to clean my house. It doesn't make sense for me to spend 3 hours tidying, cleaning the house, getting annoyed with it because it's taking so long. I shouldn't have to do it. So why not just pay somebody that's going to come in for 2 hours instead of your 3 or 4 hours once a week? You don't really need to touch in between. I don't have a cleaner yet, but that's on the agenda for next year. And even laundry and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
yes.
I probably do 2 loads a week, so it's not really a big strain. But when there's other stuff going on, like yard work, doing the trees, all of this stuff, and even home improvements and stuff, I might have done stuff in the past, but it's like, I'm not going to be my best self doing my best skills, using my time most effectively if I'm dicking around with a drill or smashing something down with a hammer. As fun as it might be, I'm not really enthused about cleaning that up and then actually building the thing out the other side. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I learned that from my live-in renovation at my last house. So by the time I demoed everything and moved around and made a mess everywhere, it's like, fucking I need to pay somebody to come and do this and get it done quick. Do you know what I mean? So really, every section of life. For the overwhelmed entrepreneur, this is incredibly good. And I think that's pretty much everybody in our community that's starting out or near the beginning, or hasn't yet related to the fact that there's more that needs to be done than they can deal with effectively and be productive with.
Yes. I love that. And I think that really ties into figuring out what's your money-making activity. And what would you say, like, to the person, if there's anybody watching this who's wanting to get into wholesaling and they're wanting to do all this by themselves and they don't want to include people because they don't want to have to split the profits with a partner or anything like that. What would you say to that person?
I would say squat up. 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing, because you're not going to be very effective and it's going to take you a lot longer to get a deal done. Whether you're doing the prospecting to the follow-up to the lead management to the closing, it's going to be a much longer sales cycle with 2 of you. At least one can be generating leads and you can be closing and maybe transaction coordinating, all of that kind of stuff. But it really does make a huge difference when you got a team involved, because you don't go to the dealership and say, oh, come and work on my car. They got a guy that specializes on engines. They got a guy that specializes in brakes, probably, and different aspects of the car. And same as building the car. You don't have the guy that screws the door on, putting the spark plugs in the engine. Do you know what I mean? They've already built these things in sections and they all come together at the end. And, Henry Ford put this concept together of the production line. So have that conveyor belt or production line pace, and Max Maxwell had talked about in different contexts where you have the data. Somebody decides on what data you're going to go after, what are you going to be marketing for and marketing to. So then you get somebody that then calls on the data, and that may be yourselves at an early stage in the business, but at least have 2 or 3 of you doing it. Make it fun together. But at the point that you become proficient, you can train somebody else. We need to be I do it, we do it, they do it. So you do it yourself so you understand how it works. And I'm not saying you have to know and understand every part of the business. This is why we have 2, 3, 4 other people in the business, because each person knows parts of it. You can document it, so you can do it with somebody and show somebody. And then past that point, you then, you've demonstrated it. And that's another way that you can show your knowledge in something, is by actually teaching it to somebody else, so that you understand how it works, so that you can teach somebody else how to do that. I'm going to find a quote here a second. So I've got some discipline quotes here a second. It might take me a second to find.
Yeah, well, you're finding that. I heard a quote myself from somebody recently. I'd never heard it before, but it was so prophetic. Like, it just made so much sense, and I loved it. And it said, it's better to share a watermelon than to have your own grape.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I think that was something I've heard in several places this year. I love that expression. Can you hear that rehearsal that's going on?
It's literally the best part of my day.
Good, excellent. So I think it's amazing.
So are they playing originals, or are they doing covers, or
they're doing some covers? But they do have a couple of songs they've been writing.
Really? That is super dope, man. That is so stinking cool. Are they doing like any Metallica covers? Like, do they kick off like For Whom the Bell Tolls at all, or?
They haven't got onto that. They were doing some Ozzy Osbourne earlier, some Crazy Train.
Goodness. They're doing Crazy Train?
Well, they haven't really played that, but one of them was singing it earlier. But I think that Ace of Spades is coming up before too long. They found Lemmy, which is great.
Yes, that is awesome. Well, I'm excited to come down there and jam with them, dude.
Yeah, that'll be exciting, dude. And especially if I can get one of those guitars this year. I can't play it, but I'll look good with it. That's the important thing.
That's all that matters, man.
I can't find this quote, but this is another book which I can wholly recommend. Let me stop sharing my screen. And it's called Connected to Goodness, and it's by David Meltzer. David Meltzer is the CEO of a company called Sports One Marketing. And an agency that he worked before forming that business was with the guy who had started the business, which I'm losing my train of thought with this. What was the Show Me the Money movie? It was Jerry Maguire. So the business he used to work for was the Jerry Maguire movie was based on characters in CEO of his business. So he's just such a lovely guy. He has been. Good night, Michelle. I think I might just
have a good night, Michelle.
So he's a really nicely, softly spoken guy, very connected to, source, as he calls it, and I kind of refer to it as universe or whatever, but very, very grounded, very personable, and very much in the spirit of doing things to benefit everybody. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Being gracious and courteous to other people and aware of other people. But he spoke at Thrive, and he was talking about gratitude, how important it is to practice gratitude, whether it's journaling, every morning, wake up, say thank you before you go to sleep, thank you, and yes, and and think about the things you're grateful for. I mean, I think it's a cliche expression, but that's only cliche to the people that don't necessarily understand it and deeply connect with that. And I've got to say, I'm still in the process of trying to connect with that in a deeper way. But being grateful for things, shit, I got a flat tire, or shit, I'm glad the tire went flat when it did. Could have been so much worse. Glad I was in the middle lane of the freeway and the tire went flat. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Glad it went flat slowly and I felt it was something wrong with it and got off the freeway. It's all contextualizing things or recontextualizing things.
Yeah, 100%.
Go on, Jess. The dog's snoring.
I was just gonna say, dude, like, that's what you're talking about, man, is like a common theme in almost every book that I've read this year. At some point, it's talking about we're energetic beings. We give off an energy and a vibration, and whether you call it God or the universe, what you put out, you attract.
Absolutely.
Kind of like that,
Yeah.
that just a universal law of the law of attraction, and it just seems to be a common theme that I've seen in almost every book that I've read. I just got done reading another one called Church Boy to Millionaire. If you guys haven't read that one, read it. It is
Joel Osteen?
amazing. Beg your pardon?
Joel Osteen?
Doug Wood.
I could have imagined that as Joel Osteen. Tell me about that one. That sounds interesting.
Joe Olstein?
No, not Joel. I'm not a fan. But your book.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, you don't?
Huh.
We don't need to cover that. It's all good.
Oh.
He's a TV evangelist kind of guy.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. It's a really awesome book, but it just really put things into perspective. And I think a lot of times when you're talking about, success and when you watch podcasts when you listen to podcasts or watch interviews, when you have people like Donald Trump or Warren Buffett, or Elon Musk, I think a lot of times for a lot of people it can feel like there's some kind of a disconnect there. You know what I mean? Like what would not to bring politics or anything, but what would Donald Trump know about living in a 3-bedroom 2-bath single family home in Wasilla, Alaska? And, having to juggle 4 kids with a working, wife and running a business and all this other kind of stuff, So sometimes when you're watching that kind of stuff, looking for inspiration or looking to learn, sometimes it can feel like it's somewhat disconnected because you almost feel like, well, what can they, how can they relate to me? I mean, this is great. This is good, but how can they relate? And what I love about this book is that he goes into that. He goes into exactly, where he was, at a 19, 20-year-old, in a failed business and in debt and just getting married and going through, just marital problems. I mean, the first, the first year of being married and running a failed business and having to do all these different things and to get where he is. And, Tristan, I think that's the point of us getting on here and doing this is, hey, we're coming to you guys as people that are on this journey with you guys.
Yeah.
And so we can relate because we're in the trenches freaking doing it. And that's what's so awesome. But anyway, that book was just so valuable and I absolutely loved it. If you guys haven't read it yet, definitely get it. I just got my dad to pick those 2 books up.
Give me 1 second. I'm just going to screw with this a minute.
Oh, yeah, you're good, brother. You're good.
I'm just trying to eliminate some of this noise. Can you hear me, Jesse?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I've got a bit of a
and that big, beautiful New York accent. Just
trying to set it up so that you can't hear so much of that and I can't hear so much of that in the background. Some of that as well.
I think it kind of makes...
I think I've got echo cancelling, but not noise cancelling on this thing. So I was just on the topic of contextualization or recontextualization. You can see a fancy thing. That's the visual version of feedback right there. But in August, I was on the way home from my friend's concert, and this drunk driver hit me. Now, thinking back to Miles Berrio of last year, I saw it while I was in the car before I climbed out. That was the other guy. It's always you should have seen the other guy. This was the other guy, unfortunately drunk. That's where I ended up, on the side of the road. But that's in the daytime the next day. That's kind of what happened. And when I was in there, you can see that the doors buckled in there.
Yeah.
So I was kind of locked in there just from the seatbelt tensioning. But all I could think of was, it was dialing 911 from the system, from the computer or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I just managed to easily just climb out the other side. But it was like, thank goodness for that. I know, and as I was getting out, it was gratitude of thank goodness it was me, not some old lady or my kid or some other young kid who was in a worse kind of car that wouldn't have handled it in that way. Now, it's not a supercar, but it's a Subaru, and that's why I chose these cars, is because they're built well. And it's just, I could have got out the car. What an asshole! Who the fuck just hit me and all this?
Right.
Actually, lucky that you hit me rather than somebody else. And it wasn't an arrogance that, oh, look at me, I'm great.
Right.
Basically, I was stiff and I had couple of issues for a few days. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yes.
But thankfully, I came out with a new perspective, and that was the most important thing of that situation. You know, the guy was in the ambulance, drunk, wished him well, and off he went. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. Tristan, that is an interesting story. I'm super glad that, I mean, you're here having this conversation with us. I had no idea that you got in a wreck, let alone one that was that bad.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting one. But I had a dash cam, and the thing that I guess if I didn't have gratitude for something, it was that the dash cam wasn't working, because I wanted to see. I remember going through the green light.
Yep.
And then being aware that this vehicle was coming from the left, because I obviously looked at the light. There was a car that I just passed half a mile behind, and he pulled over with me. So he told the cops that the light was green. Right. But I remember still seeing in my peripheral this car just as it was hitting me. Do you know what I mean? It was obviously a very quick situation.
Yeah.
I wanted to see the video from the dash cam angle so that I could see what I didn't see on my left. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To kind of make me more aware. But yeah, that was definitely a fun experience,
Well, they had I mean, you're in Phoenix, bro. They had cameras on the lights, right? I mean, there's got to be some sort of visual.
It was cut and dry. The other guy said my light was green, the other guy was red, and he was drunk. So, it was no need for extra evidence. I don't think they're going to give it to me for entertainment value, but that would be nice.
Well, I think, Tristan, if there's anything to take away from this, is just the caliber of person that you are and the mindset that you are in to be able to walk away from that, let alone get hit, immediately crawl out and be thankful that you're alive and not pissed off that some jackass almost took your life, and then let alone, blessing him that he was alive.
And it was funny because when I got out, they said, "Have you seen the guy from the car as he'd come out?" And I said, "Oh, that was me." "What? You must be Captain America." I said, "No, wrong country, bro."
He is the international man of mystery. Get it right.
Yeah.
Well, dude, I think to tie that back in, one of that just goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Like, my life has changed completely this year in terms of my self-development from hanging out people like you with that mindset of gratitude and appreciation. And when you surround yourself, when you're getting that every single stinking day, man, I mean, it's crazy how much your life will just change when you're not spending your time, bitching about people and complaining about your life circumstances. And I got a flat tire and this happened and that happened. Yeah. And, when you come together and people are talking about how great things are going, what they're learning, and, how their fitness goals are going, how their financial goals are going, how the business is going, and how their family is doing, and the trips they got to take this year and things like that, man. I mean, it really is, it's powerful stuff. And I as somebody who started this, just completely, with I don't want to say any help or anything like that, but like, what am I trying to say here? Like I didn't get a leg up, man. Like I started just like any other normal person in this country would have, and just to be able to take that and be where I am now, man, is very humbling.
Yeah. Hey, Caroline, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us. So tell me about, how did you get started with this? What was your kind of entry to this? How did you find it? Mine was...
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I had a friend reach out to me a couple years ago, and he said, we haven't talked. He was a childhood friend, and we hadn't spoken in like 15, 20 years, man. And we're just kind of getting reacquainted over Facebook. And he's like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah." And he asked me, he's like, "Hey, dude, Jesse, have you ever thought about getting into real estate?" And I was like, "Yeah, I thought about getting my license, when I used to live in Phoenix." And he's like, No. He's like, "I'm not talking about being a realtor." He's like, "I'm talking about being an investor." And I kind of gave him this long drawn out, like, "Oh, why didn't you say so?" Blah, because I was, at fourplex in Anchorage, is $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. Easy. You know, and then to go put 20% down on something like that, dude. I was like, bro, I don't got 6 figures just burning a hole in my freaking pocket.
Yeah.
You know, and it was he was like, no. He's like, look, I've got a meeting later on the week I think we talked on like a Tuesday. He's like, hey, I've got a meeting on a Thursday with some other investors. Just come hang out, come be a fly on the wall. And I said, all right, well, twist my arm. Let's do this, mother. So I jumped in there, man, put myself on mute and just listened. And I got to hear how all of these high-end and successful investors were thinking about money.
Yeah.
And how they were thinking about debt. And they were leveraging other people's debt and other people's money to make money.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is insane. Like that is what I want to be doing. And that's what started the whole rabbit hole for me, man. And it was I just dived right in after that, you know. It was kind of a spendy endeavor. The first piece of education that I paid for. I really don't care to admit how much I spent on that. It was more than I could afford. But that's what started this whole venture, man. And you know, knowing what I know now, if there's anybody, because I thought, you know what, if I want to do it, like that's the only way to do it. I just got to pay the money and have somebody show me how to do this, and that's it. Like if I want to start this, then there's no other way. You know, I didn't know, and knowing what I know now, and part of the reason, and you know, that I love sharing information and getting on here and being able to talk with you and share our conversations with other people is to say, hey, you don't have to take the route that I did and pay all of this money that you don't have to get started in real estate. You know, Tristan, you know as well as I do, knowing what you know now, I mean, you would know how to go in and start a complete real estate business from scratch.
Yeah, absolutely.
With no money, no nothing. And it's all from doing what we're doing here, communicating and talking with people and saying, hey, what can I do? What are you in need of in your business right now? And as somebody who's brand new, you know, I thought, well, what value do I have? I don't have that. Who wants to partner with me? Who's going to give 50% of nothing to somebody who's brand new with no value?
Yeah.
Well, you know what? The hardest part of getting into real estate is finding the deal.
Yeah.
So I wish somebody would have said, Jesse, come hang out with me.
And I would say the hardest part of real estate, knowing what I know now, is finding the right community and knowing what communities are out there so that you can find them to squat up with and get into, because each of us have got our own, you know, I got my $35,000 Elite Legacy training behind me 2 years ago. And looking back now, I was pretty angry and pissed about that after I had done it, and it was just so crap. And then I remember I did the last training with them. There was more to come, but I never took it. In the January before COVID, I went to LA to a training over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I'd done another training course, it was another 10 grand with another guy, which was a great weekend. But I now look back and think it was probably, in some ways, it was too early for me, but in other ways it wasn't, because I did do a campaign and got some return on that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one of my best learning deals, and I'll go into that maybe later on. But then it was shortly after that I came back from there and found Pace or Jamil. I can't remember which one it was at first. I think it's probably Pace. And I was looking up creative finance, and that's probably why Google put Pace in front of me. And there was 250 or 300 people in that free Facebook group at the time, and it was all pretty much a lot of the people that are in the mentorship in the first 3 or 4 months were in there.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's 35,000 people in that group, you know?
Oh,
so
it's nuts,
knowing what to look for is the key.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, from being pissed off that I spent $45,000 on those trainings,
mm-hmm.
and then finding out what I got from buying Pace's training and other training that I've done since, I wouldn't be talking to you right now if I didn't do that $35,000 training. It was not about the training. It was about connections and the understanding of how to network with people. And that's what that was what was the most valuable thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same about anything. It's community. I kind of stepped away from that community. Mm-hmm. And that was a very not in a terrible way. It wasn't like I was angry and pissed people off. It was just that's not the education I want to be around. But instead of
Right.
retaining relationships with some of the people I had met there, Marlon came through this as well. Marlon, there's a couple of other people that came through that as well, and it's had its value for sure. So it's really really important to take away everything you can from it and not walk away with a loss from the situation, because you know that 35-45 grand was a huge investment, but it's got a huge return because we're talking now. You know, I'm not the most successful person around, but I've got knowledge to partner with other people where we can become the most successful people together. You know, it's 100%. Like a relay race. If you sprinted, you know, 400 yards or 400 meters and expect you to do the speed of each of the 100-meter sprints, you're crazy. But if you pass the baton to somebody else to sprint the next 100 meters and the next 100 meters and the next, you're in a team where you're going to get the best performance overall, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, I was reading the messages. My eyes are terrible. Carolyn said, "I feel that way." Carolyn, what way do you feel? Like you feel like
I think from the communities, I think that's when she mentioned that it was about the communities and the people to be around. Do you want to come on, Caroline? Let me send her a link, and I'll send Rick a link as well.
Yeah.
Rick the Legend Edgeworth. There, Caroline. Oh, Caroline, jump on. I'm not sure if she's going to see it. It's gone to your Facebook messages. In fact, I can probably just stick it down here. I can't post comments to... Oh, that should be good.
Dude, I can't
I'm
tell.
new and I feel like I do not have anything to offer. You need to be on here, Caroline. She's got the link. She's probably coming into the broadcast now. Rick, jump on, bro.
Caroline, get in here. Get in here, Rick.
So deals didn't take action so many times because they didn't have the money, not knowing getting the money is the easy part. Yeah, I met Rick at the mastermind a few weeks ago. We had some great conversations, a couple of nights. And he brought his son, and that kind of leads in as well to the podcast that we'll probably talk about later on.
100%.
It's just great to see a father and son together, you know, learning this side of things, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Plus it makes it more fun, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if she's going to be joining.
Dude, are one of those girls singing?
Not currently. I think they call it screaming.
Oh my gosh. Okay, good. Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought I heard like
That's exactly what it is.
It was sick.
Yeah. It sounds like
are they into like Kill Switch Engage and stuff too, or
probably? Yeah.
We need to interview them.
On
our music podcast.
The local band they like is Fight the Vomit.
Is what?
Fight the Vomit is the name of the band.
Fight the Vomit.
They're big fans of, yeah.
Fight the Vomit. Well, I'll have to check that one out.
Coming in. Here she comes. Caroline. Is it Caroline or Carolyn?
Carolyn.
Carolyn, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Awesome. There's a glowing icon for a person in the middle of the screen. Have you got a camera button to press?
I don't know how to take the Carolyn.
Carolyn. There's
Fantastic.
a camera button somewhere for you, Carolyn.
No, I can't.
It's New Year's. I'm sure you're beautiful and amazing. Waiting to... we saw some red there. But anyway, welcome. You're new. Whereabouts are you, Carolyn?
I'm in Texas.
Texas, whereabouts?
Austin.
Austin. I've never been there, but I want to go. I want to see some of the music, and I want to see the Formula One Grand Prix there as well. Used to be a big Formula One fan.
I'm hearing something else talking. Sorry.
You can hear somebody else talking?
Yes.
It might be my kids' music, the band in the background. They're basically having a punk band rehearsal in their bedroom. So there's a bass guitar, an electric guitar, and a set of drums.
That's awesome. Well, Carolyn, I know a lot of people forget this from Texas. Texas is the second biggest state.
Mm-hmm.
I like to put that. I got tons of friends from Texas, and they're always like they might even be watching this. They're always like Texas this and Texas that, Texas pride this, and I didn't understand it. I used to live in New Mexico before I live in Alaska right now, and before I lived in Alaska, I lived in New Mexico, and on our way up, we drove to Dallas to go drop the car off to get shipped up to Alaska. And as soon as I'd never been to Texas before, and as soon as I crossed that Texas border. Like I just saw signs all over the place, like Texas pride and so from the Dallas Cowboys grew up here and this and that. And then I got it. Then I get it. Because all my friends from Texas are big Texas pride. If you're not Texas, then you suck. all my friends from Texas. I'm like, well, hey, remember, Texas is the second biggest state.
Yeah.
Under Alaska. Anyway, how are you, Carolyn? What can we help you with? What do you feel like you're missing in your business right now?
Well, I was just sending out some messages tonight to connect with people because I was listening to Pace's Zoom call where he said we have to connect with at least 25 people. So I was sending out my messages.
Well, you knocked off 2 of them tonight. Welcome.
Yeah.
Well, look at that. Okay, good. I can add you too. So last in October, I closed one deal.
Awesome.
Amazing.
But what happened with that, because I was very new, I started in April in another program. Being a first-time wholesaler, I was crazy. I was just doing whatever I needed to. I was spending, I was doing whatever I had to, putting out bandit signs, sending out mailers, text messaging, also everything. I was just doing whatever. And then someone told me about Pace's program. So when I got paid out, I joined the program.
Nice.
But then somehow I slowed down. And so I spoke to Joey and she told me kind of reach out to the community and see how you can connect with someone, help someone. So I'm starting to work with someone to get in my calls to speak to sellers because I had a VA and I was doing other things, but I wasn't getting enough calls. And of course, calling terrifies me like everyone else. So I needed to get the reps in. So that's my plan, to do lead management for someone in the group, just to get my reps in, because I think that's the biggest thing. And let's see where I can help anyone else. Takes myself out of it and see how I can help, because I want to learn the business, right? I'm going to sacrifice that and kind of focus on that this year. I don't know if that's a good plan, but that's what I think I should be doing.
I think it's a great plan. I think it's a great place to start. And I think I think you're in that right mindset of bringing value to somebody else, helping value. And at the same time, you're working on your skills. What would you say you're naturally good at? Like, what are you just naturally good at? What do you love doing that doesn't feel daunting or like a task that you enjoy doing, like in relation to this business?
Well, if I could talk about the process when I went through with wholesaling, the deal, I would say connecting with the seller, making sure they were comfortable, reaching out to I didn't do the buyer, I JV'd, so somebody helped me with the buyer side, but I was liaising with the title company. That seems to fit into my schedule, and I didn't mind reaching out to the seller just to make sure everything was on track and following up with that. So that follow-up part for me, I think I was good with it. I think I didn't feel any fear. My biggest fear is calling. I still have a big fear with that.
Like the initial call?
Yes, calling sellers, like just talking to them, doing those multiple touch points with them. Terrifies me, but it's okay. Anything in life, I'm naturally an introvert, but I do have extrovert tendencies. Like I like talking to people. I'm here talking with you guys. That says a lot. So
I love it. I'm glad that you're here.
So for me, I know I can get over it. I'd like to get over it, so that's why I'm doing it.
I would suggest that you don't necessarily need to be doing the calling and that kind of stuff. I might not object to it, but suggest a different perspective, because we all get into this business and it comes back to the topic of overwhelm. The book that I was talking about earlier on, Who Not How. you don't need to learn everything and you don't need to do everything. So from the point of view, if you don't want to do that and it doesn't feel good, don't do it. You don't, go and run on hot coals just for the hell of it. I mean, some people do, but probably not the best idea just for, casual walking around the garden, have a steaming rock, load of rocks. You know what I mean? So I would lean into the fact that, okay, you got some extrovert tendencies and some introvert tendencies. Rick's here as well. I'm just going to mute you a sec, Rick, just for the time being. And look at the possibility that, hey, I might not need to be the person that calls people. What if I'm the person that does the lead generation or something along those lines? And that kind of falls into a book which you may have heard about in passing, which is Rocket Fuel.
Yes, I was trying to pick it up today.
That's an amazing book, and I think that should probably be your first book of the new year.
Okay.
Just figure out, and it's not to say that you're only going to be one or the other. You may have tendencies of both, but just lean into what your best use of your time is based on your current skills. Because we look at the 3 T's. There's Tristan, Tristan, and Tristan. The other 3 T's are time, talent, and treasury. So you either got a lot of time, and you may have time that you can offer somebody that you can spend time cold calling. You may have some time, but not a lot of time. What have you done in life before this, career-wise and personally?
Oh, I'm an accountant, so I'm
You're
behind the scenes. Yeah, I love when I get into the office, I sit behind my desk.
So I'm just seeing an answer. No, not everybody needs to be a wholesaler and have a wholesaling operation. This was something that that Pace was talking to gentleman a couple of days ago. Is I'm working nights, I'm doing this job, and I earning good money, and I just struggling to find time to do all of these things. Why do you need to do every end of the business? If you love accounts and you love bookkeeping, I'm not saying you have to be an integrator or you are an integrator, but it may be that you are an integrator and you might want to do the crystallizer test. I'll find that a second for you.
Okay.
Because that might save you a lot of time here. Crystallizer assessment, here it is. So let me paste this in here so you can find it. So I would suggest that you don't even call people. If that's not something you love doing, if this is something you want to do to get over the fear,
yes,
more for your mindset than anything else,
yes,
accomplish that and do that for that purpose, but don't use it as a place that you may fail. Use it as a tool for success to overcome a fear, and you don't need to do it ever again. And you don't need to overcome that fear today or this week or this year. You can do that whenever you're ready, but you can get familiar maybe it's the lead generation, tracking KPIs, reporting on revenue. So find somebody in their business where you can say, look, I understand profit and loss. And here's another book that I'd suggest for you as well, which is a book called Profit First. This would be right up your street. You could be a consultant for real estate investors. And there's another book they've just released, which is called Profit First for Real Estate. It's a specific book which is written by a partner of Mike Michalowicz. I love this guy's voice. All of his books are phenomenal to listen to because he's just got such a great character about him. He's just so relatable. He's so lovable, and he's got a sense of humor. But it talks about running your business with basically 7 bank accounts. You got 2 checking accounts, income and operating expenses, and then you've got one for profit. You got another one for tax, and then you've got owner's compensation. And then 1st to the 15th of the month, you move any money that's in the profit account, the tax account, and the operator's profit or operator's income.
Yeah.
You move that to a separate bank somewhere else, so you can't access it and say, "Oh shit, I'm short in OPEX this month. I'm going to steal from the tax, or I'm going to steal from the profits." Because otherwise, as well as I do, you get to the end of the year, the accountant says, "Oh, great, you made $250,000. Oh, so which bank account is the $250,000 in? Oh, yeah, I forgot strained every bit of that out into the business to pay for the operating expenses that I didn't keep under control. So so that would be two great books for you to read. Rocket Fuel, to kind of understand more about the traits of, you've got Steve Jobs, but you also had Steve Wozniak. He was the integrator of the pairing in Apple. Then you had Roy Disney, who not many people knew. He was an accountant, and he was the integrator for Walt Disney, and he was the one that kind of took Walt Disney's vision and pushed it into the business.
Okay.
I would look at those and not stress about doing everything that you think you need to do, because you don't need to do everything.
Yeah. And I think I was doing the calling as lead manager just to get, just to get over my fear for my personal reason, not to really stay in that role per se. Because it was really terrifying, and I don't like stuff to terrify me. I want to be, even if I've done it a couple of times and I'm okay. Yeah, it doesn't terrify me so much, but it was really, really paralyzing me from getting on the phone, and I don't like that feeling.
Good. So just lean away from it if that's not something that's comfortable, but just make sure that you're using your skills. And there's a book called The Big Leap that I haven't yet read.
Okay.
I think that is in my list here. I mean, I'm not going to just tell you every fucking book that I've read that you need to read it, but this is in my list to read because I picked this up from somebody else in one of the mentorships or masterminds I'm in. But The Big Leap is about, there's an expression in there called your zone of genius. And that's areas of skills that you're best at. Those are things that you're going to make the most effective use of your time with. Who, not how. It's talking about, well, if you're doing all of these things in the business, what is the thing that slows you down the most that you do least efficiently? That's the first thing you need to outsource to somebody else.
Yeah. It's
like taking the brake off each of your wheels on the car. You take the handbrake off, the parking brake off first, because that's going to stop you most.
Okay.
And then you've got to unstick the other four wheels, the brakes from the wheels, and free yourself up to get to your most efficient speed without being held back by any of those functions. So it might be that you're a great visionary, but you're an integrator in the business, but you're not the cold caller, and you're those things. Or maybe as a visionary, you can lead the integrator into doing what it is, but maybe you're the integrator, and it doesn't mean that you don't have great ideas and vision and drive. It just means that you just need to be aware of those areas of genius that you have that you need to be looking at. There was a book that I haven't read yet, but it refers to red and green time. The red time is stuff that isn't necessarily best stuff to do, but you need to schedule your green time, which is your money-making time. So you're doing as much of that for a fixed time in the day, but you also have to set aside some time for your red time where you're doing things you're not necessarily as efficiently at, that aren't necessarily directly money-making activities now. That could be finding private money. It could be looking for realtors to work with. It could be networking with wholesalers. It takes time, but it's not something that necessarily you're the best at or the worst at, but it's just balancing what you're doing. And I'm not practicing what I'm preaching, but it's time blocking. I've always struggled with managing my time. I am the worst enemy for my own time. And Eddie tried to tell me how to do it in February last year when I got laid off. I just couldn't get into the mind of, oh yeah, let me just piece out this time, and I just couldn't stick to it. Do you know what I mean? But I've got a planner, which I'm trying to work through, one for every day, 15-minute increments. And I'm trying to put the top 3 things that I need to do at the top. This down the bottom was actually for something else, but I've changed it to say tasks to delegate, things that I need to be done, which I might have written at the top of the list and made 12 things at the top of the list instead of 3. Now I can put them at the bottom and say, oh shit, no, that one needs to be delegated or passed off to somebody else that actually has the job to do that. Because it's easy for me. I'll just spend 5 minutes doing that, and then it takes 15 because something else comes up and I don't focus on it. Still trying to do all of that stuff. Overwhelm is really a challenge,
That makes sense. I like the time blocking. I know people talk about it a lot now.
Yeah, and there's an app called, funnily enough, it's called Time Block, which I haven't really set out. For some reason, it's not alerting as I anticipated, but I'm just trying to figure out my day. So I schedule all of the things that happen every day, like wake up at 5, walk the dog at 5:15, That's a 45-minute to an hour walk. Then come back, shower, then get out there, do some Wim Hof breathing for 15 minutes or so, and then meditate for half an hour. Then go and read my book. I'm doing 75 hard at the moment, so there's a couple of those things that kind of fit in. So I'm doing 3-mile walks in the morning instead of 2 because it takes 45, 50 minutes. But it's just, and again, I think that discipline is freedom. It's an opposing pair of expressions, but the discipline to format your time so that you're in charge of it, you're controlling it, gives you the freedom. And it's not to say you block every minute out of every day to do something and lots of things.
Yeah.
It's blocking the time out to do those green tasks that you're most efficient at, so you can take the red time, the non-money making activities, and enjoy those and step away from the stuff that you need to be doing during the times you need to be doing those things,
Okay, makes sense. And this all comes, as you say that now, my mind is thinking this all comes back into knowing what you want.
Yeah.
Where do you want to see your business? Because now you make it sound so much easier, because now the tasks that I don't particularly like, I can bucket it to somewhere else and get on with, where do you see yourself, Carolyn?
100%. Yeah. And to go along with what Tristan was saying, and Tristan, you hit the nail on the head, dude. If you're time blocking out your entire day, let's say you got 3 or 4 hours of your entire day that you are just consistently doing your business. You turn your Facebook off, your notification, like all this kind of stuff. You're just hitting that time, right? So I know you want to, and I think it's really cool that you want to get better at talking with people, because it really makes you uncomfortable, but it's not something you look forward to. It's not maybe the best use of your time. But if you've only got 3-hour window every day to just stay consistent and to just nail it, is your money-making activity best suited honing, trying to talk to more people, or doing what you're naturally good at, whether like Tristan was saying, maybe those are more integrator roles, generating leads or figuring out whatever it is that you're good at that can complement somebody else who loves to call. That's me right here. If you haven't guessed, that's all I'd love to do is just freaking talk to people. If there's, I just, do not stick me in front of a computer. Do not stick me in a room. I don't want to be doing any of that. All I want to do is just talk to people. So, maybe that might be a good route to take. If you're looking for 25 other people to communicate with and to network with, and JB, that may be a good way of, bringing value to somebody, even though you are new. You got just so much potential, and you have things that you are just naturally good at. And so you got to ask yourself, all right, well, how can I take what I'm naturally good at or what interests me and put that in a 3-hour window and try to make as much money as I can from just doing that one thing? And there isn't any, it's not to say that you can't get better at talking to people, but maybe kind of set that aside or time block into a different part of your day. Does that make sense?
I think so. Yeah.
So Rick had to drop off, but he said basically watch the Zoom call from today with Pace. I didn't manage to watch it because we were obviously.
I was on there.
Oh, you were?
I was on there.
So yeah, it was a very long one. I think it was like 8 or 9 hours or something. But he said
he did 3 hours. He didn't go as long as 8.
Oh, he didn't.
He gave us some task to do, and then
good.
Do the one-on-ones if we did it.
Perfect. So yeah, basically, I think he was saying, just try and find what you enjoy doing, like we're saying, and just find people and just call people. Just say, what are you doing in your business? Hang on 1 second. Excuse me a second.
No, that's why I'm messaging people tonight to connect and see what people want to do in their business, to see how I can help. And I think understanding more of the business and where different tasks are and what you can do. Oh, that's exactly what Pace went through today. There's not just one aspect to the business. So
for sure.
It's just figuring that out. Yeah,
100%. Well, it sounds like you got a little bit of clarity as to, maybe I don't want to assume. Does that kind of give you some ideas on maybe where to go and that you do have something to offer?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you get excited with spreadsheets? I know it's a very personal question for a Friday evening at 11 o'clock at night.
I've done accounting for so many years. I kind of want to step away from it. I love it. I'm good at it.
Yeah.
But I think I wanted something different.
I know what you mean, because I worked with computers for 25 years, and I thought, oh, I'm not necessarily an integrator, but I did the rocket fuel test about a year ago, and it was, I kind of just carried on messing around with the computers and the systems and messing around with stuff like that. I wasn't enjoying it. I have an idea to do something, and I can't be asked to finish this off. So I know what you mean. And then I did the test a year later, and I was like 90% visionary and 46% integrated, because I was still in a previous day job operating computers and information security. Yeah. My mind was still in that kind of enclosed space, but soon I got laid off. I'd had 7 or 8 months at that point of creative freedom to then step out of my day job and the really what I was doing in my career, to open my mind outside of that. Rob Robbins is here, everybody. So Rob, jump on, bro. There's a link above, dude.
I'll jump off to let Rob come in, guys. Thank you so much.
You can both be on here. There's space for everyone. I think he's got some suggestions for you.
Oh, okay. I'll stay for it.
Yeah. So where do I hear the accent from?
Oh, I'm from Trinidad.
I wondered if you might be. I love that accent.
Thank you.
I just shot the link to Rob there, so you can jump on.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah, I think that just talk to people, find out what they're doing with their business. I mean, the reason I asked about spreadsheets, it wasn't just being a complete idiot. I've got a spreadsheet here. Not that I'm looking to pass anything off to you, but with a couple of spreadsheets I've got, I'm underwriting deals and figuring out cash flow, and I'm working out whether it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Maybe if there was something along these lines that you might be able to transition through the skill of doing something like this to understand how deals can or can't work.
Yes.
That might be something you could offer people to, let me underwrite your deals. I'll look at whether it should be a wrap, all of these different things, because you'll see it from a very more distinct point of view. And again, not to block you into the accountant integrator corner, but leveraging skills you already have to open up doors in other skills that you didn't know that you have or that you enjoy doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. And I never looked at the underwriting part of it, though.
Yeah. So it's right above Rob. Rob is on. Let me post it in here, Rob. Can you hear that enthusiasm? They're having a great time in there. I switched onto this so you got less background noise, so you don't have.
I was going to say I can't hear anything, man.
No, I think what it was, I had my Facebook and StreamYard going.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean.
So I didn't realize it was streaming both places. So that's why I was hearing feedback.
Let me just send this to Rob. I'm going to dump this into the chat. In fact, I'm going to... Maybe you can see that. Maybe you got to go to sleep, Rob, but it's in there if you want to join. But Rob's partying hard with everyone else asleep, I think. So yeah, Rob's one of the OGs as well. He started very early last year in the mentorship, and almost 2 years ago now, I suppose. Christ, time's passed so fast. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just reach out to us. I've got a group called Creative JB. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
No.
I'll drop that link in there as well. I'm going to be opening a meetup group in Austin this coming year.
Ooh, that'll be amazing. I can't, because I'm in the StreamYard, would I see the links after? Because I can't open Facebook to listen to the stream. I'll hear it in two places.
Right, understood. But yeah, you'll see those in there afterwards. So I've
I'll see them there. Okay.
For Creative JV. Join that Facebook group. There's also an Instagram to follow on that as well. I've got
I need to jump out of that one. Okay.
And then we'll have a meetup group, and I need one of the kind of the leaders from Austin to lead this one. In fact, 3 or 4 of them will lead it, so it's not too much work for one person.
A meetup group, I can help with that.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, absolutely. So we find a sponsor, like a title company or somebody that will kind of help cover some of the costs. And it's not exorbitant costs or anything. Then we've got a venue. Then we've also got other things as well. So yeah, that would be wonderful. Finding venues. I've just scheduled the 3rd Saturday of every month. So we're doing one meetup, which is kind of more structured, where we got a speaker. They come in, we'll do a bit of networking, listen to the speaker, listen to the title company or sponsors, and then. But it's not a pitch fest. Nobody's selling anything directly. Okay. That's a very important thing for me. I don't want people coming in and trying to sell things that, it's just about. It might as well be a RIA at that point. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
That you go in there, they talk to you about this stuff. Oh, we got a special guest. Oh, they're offering a program this weekend, only $999.99 for 2 days, down from $5,000. But because you're here tonight, you sign up before you leave. It's $999, and then they got a $5,000 upsell when you go to it, and it's just skims the surface. But I digress. But yeah, this is about free value and putting people together. We might have a flipper that comes in and speaks and talks about what houses he's looking for to buy, so the wholesalers can understand. Now I've got a shopping list. Now I can go and look for properties that I know I've got a buyer for, and I can call that buyer on his cell phone and say, hey, come across this deal. What would you pay for it? What do I need to lock it up at so that you can get what you need? And then, I can get my spread underneath. Do you know what I mean? So that's partnerships. Okay. And then we're walking some of these flips as well. So you're going to go and see flips in action at whether it's a demo stage, whether it's kind of a reconstruction stage, whether it's just before listing. We want to go and meet people and lenders and everybody that's involved in the process, It's about getting creative. Isn't necessarily about creative financing, but it's about doing deals that you couldn't do from your existing experience by squatting up with other people. It's collaboration over competition.
Okay. Well, connect with you, Tristan, to get some more information to see how I can help.
Please do. That would be wonderful. Thank you. Who's your accountability group leader for that area?
For Austin, I'm connected in Houston and San Antonio. There isn't one for Austin.
Oh, there isn't?
Mm-mm.
Oh, we need to change that. I'm going to find out who is in Austin right now. Because we need. That's a big city. There's no reason that there shouldn't be anybody leading that. Let me see.
Hey, Tristan, can you hear me?
I can, Rob. Welcome, dude. It's great to hear your voice. How have you been?
Hey, thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Everyone in my house went to sleep early, so I'm in the living room on my phone.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Just jumped on late. Had family in town all week. But Caroline, I just wanted to say, I think everybody has been in a position where they feel like they don't have anything to offer, whether they're new to the group or new in general. But I always say, because I feel that way when I talk to high-level individuals. And I think one of the things that we need to understand as well is that our willingness to help in any way possible for those that are at a higher level than us is a value, right? I mean, Tristan's really high level, and if I don't feel like I have something to offer to him, I'm just going to ask him, hey, brother, what can I do for you? Yeah. What is it that you might need some help with that I might be able to help? I don't care what it is. I'll do whatever that it takes to bring value to you because you're spending your time with me. So, I get the fear of that, but don't feel like you don't have anything to offer. The fact you're in here, you're in the right group, you're asking the right questions, you clearly want to learn and be of value to somebody. That is a value of itself. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that it's a very safe place without being a nanny culture, I think, as they call it, because, I've always, people say don't ask silly questions. Well, it's only a silly question if you already knew the answer. If you don't know the answer to a question, you need to know the answer. So there's no wrong place to ask a question. Pace was saying even the other day, if somebody doesn't know the answer to a simple question, he'd rather answer it so he can answer it for everybody that's on the call, and then 100 people get the value from that if they were scared to ask the question in the first place, and they get a result. They get to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I guarantee if you've got the question, somebody else does too. Whether they wanted to ask it or were afraid to ask it, it's helping somebody as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for that, Rob. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a bit about what you've been up to this year, Rob. Where do you live and what you've been doing? And I haven't talked to you for so long.
I know it's been a while. So this year has been, it's had its ups and downs. Myself, I had to, we always talk about mindset, being in the right mindset, and I had to decide to make that shift so that I could get my mindset in the right place. And I did that a few months ago, and I'll tell you what, every aspect of your life changes when you open yourself up to allowing yourself to be successful, to allowing yourself to succeed, to telling yourself that you do deserve to have the life that you want. Every part of your life starts to get better when you open yourself up to the positive energy out there. Man, I'll tell you, it just comes in waves. And so I've made that shift. Partnered up with another newer type of guy. He's in our Sub 2 NorCal group as well. I'm in California. I'm in the Modesto, California market. That's Northern California. And so we've got an incredible accountability group out here, partnered up with our Uncle Doug Lanza and another newer guy. He's been in a few months. We're locking up our first flip as we speak. And we're looking to hopefully lock up another one that's either going to be a flip or a wholesale deal, depending on what's going on. I just had knee surgery 2 days ago, so I'll be on crutches for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So physically, I won't be doing much, but work-wise, we're really getting the ball rolling in 2022. So I'm really excited.
Brilliant.
Excited.
Oh yeah, that's plenty of time to lock down some deals or lock down some deals, bro.
You know it. Just because I can't run around anymore doesn't mean I can't use my fingers on that keyboard, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. So, Rob, tell me about your entry into real estate, and was there overwhelm for you at some point? Was there a time at which you decided, right, these are the things that I'm most productive with. I need to work with somebody else to be able to fill in some of these things, even if you didn't find the person right away?
Absolutely. So when I jumped in, it was about 2 years ago. And I've always known that you can make money and have a good living in real estate. But really, to be honest, the most that I knew about real estate was being a real estate agent, right? And I've never been an agent, but I've had family and friends that have been agents for years. And so, when I jumped in, it was, okay, I joined a different mentorship for a while, got my feet wet, had a good foundation on wholesaling. So wholesaling was the route that I started in, and it was trial by fire. And Pace talks about it all the time: take action, take action. And that's exactly what it was. Regardless of what environment of real estate you want to get into, taking action is the way that you're going to succeed. You're going to fail forward. You're going to make mistakes. I learned pretty quickly the individuals that I could partner up with and learn from, and then those that were only out for themselves. So lost a few very lucrative deals working with the wrong individuals. But you live and learn. There's no animosity towards them. It's just a learning experience, and it was a free learning experience in the fact that I didn't lose any of my own money, but we did lose out on the opportunity to make a sizable amount on a few deals. So,
but what was the value of the thing you learned through that process of not getting those deals? Was that arguably higher than what you've gained and made since?
Yeah, you can't put a price tag on that type of education, right? It's a real life education in real time. So you quickly start to learn who is hiding things from you, who has a scarcity mindset, who is all about themselves. And you just learn to not work with those individuals. I wish them luck.
Yeah.
Like I said, no hard feelings towards them. They taught me a really valuable lesson, but they're also people that I choose not to collaborate with. So, I'm very transparent. I'm very open. If I know the answer, I'll give it. If I don't know it, I'll try to find it.
Yeah.
And I like to work with that same type of individuals. So, um, when you realize that you don't have to sacrifice who you are to be successful in this business, then you start to attract the people that you're meant to be with and you're meant to be around, and you start collaborating with other like-minded, transparent individuals, and there's not that scarcity mindset. It's that collaboration, it's competition. So,
And I noticed the deeper we get into finding the right people and finding the right vibe, the more filtered that tribe becomes around us. Because sub 2 is amazing, and I'm not saying it's full of good people, terrible people or anything.
for sure.
That it's basically a mass of people that have been selected for either their mindset or their approach to life, which is amazing.
Right.
But in any game, I was expecting to find a lot more sharks in the game, to be honest. I was looking out,
Right.
not necessarily defensively to avoid being exploited or anything, but I was thinking, there's got to be a load of car salesman types in here. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be one of those. And that's what put me off sales in the first place. Caroline, I've muted you because there was a bit of background noise. So sorry if you're trying to speak, just unmute yourself if you need to, and feel free to jump in. I think because I wasn't trying to be defensive about that, I didn't come across that type of person. And I'm aware that they're out there, and there are some sketchy people around. I've had a deal snake for me. It was my first deal I got under contract. Do you know what I mean? But it was a learning lesson. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that you just come across, and the value of that. I think I mentioned a deal I got a little while ago from my mailer campaign, the first mailer I did. It took me from May through to December the 20th or something like that to get it closed, because there was probate was needed. We needed to do, there were some title issues because there was no right of survivorship on one deed that was issued in 1968. The one that was issued in 1963 did have the right of survivorship on, and the title company wouldn't insure it because they said, there's no right of survivorship on there. The fact that the original deed was issued made the second deed irrelevant and moot. So I got an attorney's assistant to write a letter to the county, and they said, yeah, that makes sense. The second deed's irrelevant. That shouldn't exist. So they got rid of that one basically and got it over to her. Then we had issues with squatters. We had liens. I had credit card liens to negotiate, and I got $72,000 worth down to less than $20,000. And it was just a great learning experience. It was massive.
Absolutely.
And I had to tow the bloody mobile home office thing off into the sunset on 2 or 3 days after Christmas because they had to leave. Do you know what I mean? But it was a really interesting deal in a good way. Do you know what I mean? So
it's amazing what you learn for free.
Yeah, and that was partnering with somebody. Sorry to interrupt you. I was coming back to Elite Legacy, which is the training I did. I partnered with a guy that I'd met outside of there, but happened to work for them. And I said, look, I've never done one of these before. Can you help me with it? So he and I squatted up. We did this mailer. I got 18,500 delinquent people from 3 years ago that could have been foreclosed on their tax. Then we filtered out all of the ones that had paid. We sent out 2,500 postcards instead of 18,500, which Christ saved me a shit ton of money because I wouldn't have made money on that deal if I'd sent out 18,000 postcards at like roughly $1 each. So again, it's squatting up. He was the first person that spoke to this lady, and I kind of took it from there for the rest of the months seeing everything through and negotiating things and that type of stuff. And he did stuff on it. I'm not saying he wasn't involved. He was great. Grayson's an amazing guy, and I'm so grateful. Coming back, Jesse, he was the relationship that was the big relationship that came from Elite Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Then Grayson ended up meeting Marlon, not through Elite Legacy, but through another guy from Elite Legacy that Marlon had met, I think, through Elite Legacy, that was doing homes for, trans and kids from the LGBTQIA plus community that either got kicked out of home or had to leave home because they weren't loved. He's got a project called Sherlock's Homes, and that's something Marlon has been helping with a little bit in the Colorado location, Florida, and it's these relationships that 35 grand was worth it just for that one relationship.
Right,
you know
right.
What I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And Rob, I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story. I think this is the first time you and I have ever connected. So it's great to meet you, brother. I really loved what you had to say about mindset and just taking action, just going with it. If there's anybody watching this tonight or anybody who sees this tomorrow, who's wanting to start out on this venture or in business or whatever they're wanting to do, but they're afraid of failing, what would you say to them? Do you have any advice for somebody just kind of in that mindset where they're afraid to take that first step without, knowing what's to come or afraid of failing?
Absolutely. I used to use this analogy years ago. I'd say, you know what, in 10 years, I don't want to be that old guy sitting at the end of the bar who was there 10 years prior, and I look at it the same way in life. It's like in 10 years or 1 year and 5 years, I don't want to look back and go, if only I had started, if only I had taken that chance. I don't want to look back and do that, so the fear that you have to step out of your comfort zone and try something new for the first time is a real fear, but the excitement and the feeling of completion and satisfaction that you get from doing it is 100 times more. The satisfaction of pushing through that fear, coming out on the other side, whether it's a deal that you locked up or you didn't, the fact that you learned and you pushed through that fear, that excitement is like an adrenaline rush you'll never feel again. And you want to copy that. Once you feel that adrenaline rush of pushing through the scary moments, pushing through the doubt, pushing through the negative mindset, and you come out the other side, you're going to be successful if you continue to push yourself through that. And the scariest part is having that what if mindset. Get rid of the what if mindset and get into the mindset of, okay, if you're going to say what if, say, well, what if I succeed? If I succeed, I'm going to have the life I actually want. Why not? Why not give it a go? Why not? You have nothing to lose, because the worst case scenario, you'll be sitting in the same spot a year from now saying the same thing to yourself. If only I'd done this, right?
Yeah.
So push through that, go for it, and be scared and be nervous and make mistakes and reach out to people and squat up and ask the questions, because man, that feeling of completing something, of pushing through, it's second to none, and you'll thank yourself for it.
Yeah, and Carolyn, on that topic, pushing through, there's I don't know if I've lost my train of thought a second, but there's a daily dial in the mornings. It's not running at the moment because of the holidays, but that'll get you to role play with sellers.
I do that. I do that Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays.
Also great for meeting people, not necessarily developing your own skill, but look at people that are talking well to sellers that you enjoy, that don't have partners that are bringing them leads. Maybe that's a partnership that you can strike up. Call them offline. Hey, Bob, saw you sound really good talking to sellers. I've actually got some leads, or I think I might be able to generate some leads. What if I get some leads and I'm not really looking to speak to sellers? Is that something you might be able to do with me, and we split it somehow? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So go and recruit from those places as well as participate and learn. It gets your name out there, it gets you seen, people recognize you, but you can also find other people. Munif, he's done really well on that. So just kind of not become famous or infamous, but just become, the person that loves to try and push through that barrier, and that'll stand out to so many people. You know what I mean? It's your story, it's your determination, because if you're doing it with that is stressful to you, they'll see that, wow, I'm inspired by you, even though you may not be the best, or you may not be successful in your mind, or scared you may not be successful. You're succeeding in inspiring other people to do the same. Somebody might be thinking, fuck, I want to give up this real estate. They see you on there and say, oh, this is my first time on here, or, I've only been in this 3 weeks. I've so much improved with this. That might show somebody, well, maybe I should come one more time. Maybe next time I'll stand up, put my hand up, and I'll do it. So it's not all about yourself, and I'm not saying it's a selfish side of things, but know the ripple effects that you're having on other people at the same time around you. Because you doing something that's clearly, or maybe outside of your comfort zone, may inspire that other person to find their greatness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people, Richard Branson was terrible at school because he's dyslexic, but when he found his groove, that guy's unstoppable.
Yeah, I got it.
There's a few people on there that I can remember. I mean, there's Munif, from him sending me his first 5 text message leads that thought they were deals, and again, not saying anything bad, great guy. I just walked him through the process of calling the sellers and finding that they weren't interested or they weren't motivated, and helping him step into the next stage and get him past that, not failure, but failing forward. Success is a series of well-managed failures. That's something that I think that we can all take forward. Success is a series of well-managed failures.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tristan, what does that mean to you, man? And I'm only asking because I've got a lot of people who've hit me up who aren't in real estate at all. And so they're always asking me, questions about mindset and what if I fail? And Rob, thank you very much for your answer, by the way, dude. I would love to, if this is being recorded, right, Tristan, or no?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, if it is, I want to crop Rob's little portion out and throw it on Facebook or something a little bit tomorrow.
If only I had Rob's beautiful face on there as well.
It's dark in here. You don't want to see this unshaved face.
Yeah, it's not Halloween.
What is failing forward, man? What does that mean to you? Like, to anybody who has no idea, like this, if this is the first time they've ever heard, well, what is failing forward? What does that mean?
So think about learning to walk. As a kid, you're born. You don't have free will at that point. In certain sense, you don't have a skill or mastery of your body at that point, or your muscles. But when you start to stand up, you see people around you, and you think, oh, that person's moving differently to me. That looks different. I want to do that. And then they're inspired to, oh shit, if I hold on to this, I can, and they're trying to climb up and stand up, and they get their balance. The balance is within them. They just need to learn what that balance is and how that benefits them when they actually implement that in their life. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I'm just referencing a book called Failing Forward. And in that sense, they climb up, they stand against the thing, and they realize their 2 feet are too close together, and down they go. And then it's like, oh, shit, hang on, what happened there? Let me get up again. And they're not constantly thinking, where was I standing and where should I be? It was more of the case of they're just trying more and more things. They don't realize what they're doing, but it takes a while, like riding a bike. You're going to fall off your bike, or you're going to have some unbalanced, activities on your bike. But coming back to the walking, one step in front of the other. Another great analogy, but part of failing forward is, if you don't put one step in front of the other, you're not going to find where it needs to be by trying it 8 or 10 or 100 times to find where that foot needs to be and falling over. The most important thing is getting up. It's not falling down. That's very important, but getting up from the mindset is the big thing. But keep doing it and doing it again, because we're all going to fail 1 inch short of success. And everything in life can be a success based on context and perception and that perspective that you have. Mm-hmm. In your case, Carolyn, it could be getting on the daily dial and role playing. That could be as much as you want to do with talking to sellers. You may never talk to a seller again, but you succeeded because you've overcome. If I do talk to a seller, I've got something to do with it. And you ride a bike. You ever ridden a bicycle or a motorcycle?
Yes.
So when was the last time you rode a bicycle?
Oh, about 3 years ago.
So do you think you could get on a bicycle today and ride it?
Yep.
So when you get on the phone, some seller calls your visionary cold caller or closer, and they're not there, and it rings through to you. You know how to ride that bike. You may make a mistake. You may just say, "Oh, hey, Mr. Seller, this is Carolyn. Joe's not available right now. Is there anything I can help with? Is there someone I need to communicate with?" That might open up a conversation of something that Joe never thought to ask. What's going on? Is there a problem? Is there something I can help with? And it's just leaning in with that kindness, that connection to source of, they might, yeah, I've got a problem in my family. This has happened. You might be able to solve that problem where Joe was never going to be aware of it because he was concentrating on closing the deal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So just be aware that your involvement in the Daily Dial might not be about closing a deal or opening them up and finding out the story and the motivations, all that stuff. But you're comfortable doing it because you picked up the phone, you've talked to somebody before. And underwriting the deals, if you're the numbers person, and I'm not saying you need to be or should be, but maybe that's something that you can offer is I'm the guy that I'm the person that writes the checks. I'm just calling you to do this. So the sales bit's out the way. They've agreed to sell the house. Now it's figuring out the numbers. You're not stressed by that because you understand what profit and loss is. You understand that there needs to be a profit, not a loss for you or the seller. That's where you can come into your kind candor and say, look, we can't pay that price because honestly, this is what's going to happen if I don't. I can't buy the house. Or if you don't get that much money, that's going to be the problem that you've explained to me is going to remain. We need, so all of these conversations, I'll come back to failing forward again. You're calling a seller. You don't have a contract yet. You get on the phone with a seller and you hang up with no contract. Are you any further behind than when you picked up the phone to talk to them?
No.
So you've not lost anything. You've got nothing to lose. But then if you get a contract because you did get on the phone, you had an at-bat, and you not necessarily struck a home run or a touchdown, you edged it forward another yard down the field. And it's each yard that it takes to get it further towards that touchdown line. I'm not American, so I might be talking about lacrosse here. But it's just edging it down the field, just that extra step.
Yes.
And like the kid learning to walk, they're going to end up doing one step and falling over because they thought, they didn't realize they had to move the left foot in front of the right again because they moved the right foot in front of the left. But they slowly figure it out. They keep falling down, getting up. And then unconsciously they realize how to do this thing.
Yes.
And even as adults, when you're walking along, your rubber sole just grazes the floor, and you, like my kid laughed at me earlier because we were at the store and my foot caught my tennis shoe caught the ground, and it was like that semi-trip over kind of thing where I didn't fall over, my foot caught and it knocked me off the balance. But that's those instinctive things that we learn over time, is that we're not going to fall flat on our face. We just correct. We take that balance. We move that thing instantly, but it's not me thinking about it. It's all in our unconscious.
Okay. Yeah.
And a great book I've just read is Gary Vee's 12 and a half. I was speaking about that a little bit ago. It's about the emotional ingredients in life and business, basically. Christine Solara, you're going to be on here in just a couple of minutes.
Yo, Christina!
You guys, I'm going to jump off. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course.
I'll let
Carolyn. Sent you a friend request.
Yeah, I saw it, Jesse. I added you. And Tristan, I'm going to connect with you. I'll message you and we'll connect about the meetup. All right, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Bye.
You don't have to come on the camera, Christina. I know that's something you obviously wanted to try and do, but we won't let you turn your camera. So, Rob, what else is going on? Is there anything that, you know,
Yeah.
anybody can help you with, not necessarily us?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. You know, like I alluded to earlier, just making that mindset shift, and you know, eh, when you admit what you need to work on out loud, you can't ignore it anymore, right? So
Mhm.
it's out there. You can't take it back. You know you're going to get responses for it, and just even in that side of it, continuously getting responses from that admission from individuals, it helps you to say it out loud and deal with it that much quicker. And because I did that, it was honestly, it was the best thing that I did, just admitting my vulnerability and putting myself in a position of uncomfortableness. You know, and my background, I've never had that. I've never been that person that's been uncomfortable. I've been the person with the answers. I've been the person with the confidence, you know, all of those things. And so it was a new a new feeling for me. But even in the darkest, deepest part of it, I knew it was temporary. I never felt like it was permanent. I knew it was temporary, and I knew that it would be a struggle to get out, but I knew I was going to get out. And so admitting that out loud was what inevitably helps you move past it.
So I got a question based on that, because I think that's a really important threshold that you passed. I know what I need to work on in some awareness levels, but there are many other areas that I haven't even become aware of that I need to work on yet, and it's a continuous journey.
Yeah.
What was it that pushed you past that was like, I need to actually do something about that more than I'm just reading books, being pacified by, oh, I'm aware of that now, and just kind of not necessarily passing it by and not doing anything, but not doing enough or the right thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know, I always attribute it to you can do whatever you know, we've all probably had a friend or a family member who needed help in their time, right? In some point in our life, we wanted to help them. They needed the help, and for whatever reason, they didn't want to take it. They just weren't
Yeah.
ready. You cannot force somebody to be ready to take the help you want to offer them until they're ready to accept it.
Yeah.
And I think that is the same. I feel that is the same with us as individuals. Until we are ready to fully admit what it is we need to work on, and we are ready to commit to working on it, we can talk about it and pretend we want. But that doesn't mean that anything is going to change. So, you know, for myself, it was the admission that I enough. I was posing and pretending that I was being active by posting positive comments here and there, liking posts, you know, saying certain things every once in a while, joining in, watching some Zooms and videos. But we know when we're not doing enough. We can't kid ourselves. We can try, but we can't kid ourselves. And so I think when you accept that, and then you say, okay, I am tired of doing this. It's time to make that change. You start looking for doing one thing, even if it's one thing a day, that is going to push you in the direction of being successful, push you in the right direction to accomplish one thing that will allow you to be successful in the future. Now you're on your way out of that darkness. You're on your way out of that that negative mindset. And so for me, it was that. It was just admitting to myself and admitting out loud to everybody else, here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm admitting that I am, and I'm putting myself in the most uncomfortable situation out loud, because then when I do that, I can't ignore it anymore. And when I can't ignore it, I'm forced to deal with it. And when I'm forced to deal with it, I'm pushing myself through to the other side where nothing but positivity is going to happen. Not to say I'm not going to fail. I'm going to, and it's going to happen, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
I'm going to be failing forward, like we always talk about, right? And that type of failing is going to be the key to being successful. So,
Yeah, I think that knowing what I know, I had a conversation with somebody the other day about self-love. It was Corey Geary, I think it was. And I don't know, being British, I think my initial thought of all of this stuff was kind of woo-woo, kind of, Americans just being crazy, kind of motivational kind of crap. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
And I
yeah, being
dismissed
big
it for
babies.
many years. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
therapist for everything. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
right.
it's not your fault. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, I've leaned into life in a very different way since then. But I still think there's a level of I'm not willing to fully acknowledge certain things. But this self-love thing, I think, not to go on a tangent, but I was talking to Crichton about this the other day.
Yeah.
And, stand in the mirror, like telling yourself you love yourself. I mean, it's just so cliche and like, really? Does that do anything? And I know that's probably not exactly what this is all about. Self-love, taking care of your body, mind, and spirit, and everything else is all part and parcel. But there's so many things that I'm kind of missing. I think not that I'm
Mhm.
victim or anything like that, but awarenesses that I'm missing. I think that's a better way of putting things. And I think I have a worry that I'm going to have to lose everything to be really successful, because there's a lot of stories out there like Simon Cowell that got down to his last £5 note, and suddenly there was a rocket up his ass. He wasn't a millionaire overnight, but he just
Mhm.
found whatever it was, that determination, whether it was I've got nothing else to lose, the only way is up, and it was positive from there. I don't know, but I'm just still really interested to find deeper levels and try and find that switch that turns my mind and my spirit into, okay, I can now acknowledge these things. I'm not saying life's bad, just being around energy that's negative as well. Do you know what I mean? Or people that are struggling within themselves is a
Absolutely.
challenge from sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because you are the product of the 5 people you spend most time with, and you know it's not that we're in isolation or anything, but I'm not out and about so much because I'm trying to do certain things. But there's certain people very close to home that sometimes are struggling with their own mindset, and I'm trying to bring them up, but they can't see eye to eye with what I'm seeing myself, which is beyond
Mhm.
where they are. But I can't drag them either. Like you said, Rob, that you can't force somebody to see something because their perspective is different.
Mhm.
Sometimes people just need to find whatever it is that enlightens them to that change that needs to be. Giving up smoking. Tried to give up smoking many times ahead of 2003, but I found a hypnotherapist that I went to see for 2 sessions. After the first one, I never smoked again. And
Really?
but it was but it was but
That's
it was
incredible.
but it was because I was ready to do that. I said that I was going to stop smoking several times before, and I did stop smoking for periods of time. But until I was actually ready to do that, it was just fooling myself, I suppose, for a period of time. I wasn't switched on. Right, I'm done. I was getting married. I'd fall in love and all the other stupid stuff, but and it was just a decision. But ironically, that other person in my life at the time didn't quit. And I remember we drove down to Brighton from London, and she smoked in the car with me. And it's like, I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, I've just given up smoking, and you're still doing this. Do you know what I mean? Right in
Yeah.
front of me.
Yeah.
It was that bothered me more than the actual smoke.
Yeah.
And that was
Wow.
the difference. Now,
Yeah.
different people have put this into different perspectives to say, you just choose not to be a smoker. And hang on one sec. What is it?
Jesse, when we get a minute, I'd like to hear your perspective on the mindset shift too, if you don't mind.
Oh, dude, I wanted to pick your brain all night about mindset stuff.
Yeah, man. Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Kristen, have you thought about going to the hypnotist for like time blocking? Like, and then you just walk out his door, then all of a sudden you're like Rain Man when it comes to time blocking?
But I need to be ready to do that and get that adjustment made. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, so true. So true.
It's
Yeah.
when like when I started JVing earlier this year, like heavily, I'd get people to submit a lead, and then that would forward to my calendar. So every lead that was submitted, they set up a 15-minute call, which invariably ran to like 30 or 50, 60 minutes.
Right. Everyone wants to tell you their
Every
life story.
lead coming in, yeah, I got their life story. I'm interested in people, so I'm listening and I'm having chats, and I'm not really getting very much done.
Right.
So then it turned into, well, let's meet with half a dozen wholesalers at a time, I can get their life story, but they know they can't talk too much because there's 5 or 6 of us on there, so I can keep that down. Then when they submit a lead, I don't need them to have a calendar appointment anymore. Because everyone wants to have a calendar appointment, tell you all about their deal, and it's like, I don't need to know about your deal. You just put in the 4 pillars if you got them, and you should have them, and the information, and I'll go and find everything else out.
Yep.
Because, I was the same way initially. It's, but I need to tell you this, I need to tell you that. If you bullet point in the thing, all the important points, then we're golden.
Does it cash flow? That's all I need to know.
Yeah. Exactly. So, Christina, you still there? That's
don't know.
That's very rude.
Oh, bloody is in the sense like oh, bloody. Oh, okay, got it. Not how the Americans take it, like how a British says it. Got it. Well, that puts a whole different context on that comment.
Well, my kids are going to the park with some sparklers because it's 2 minutes from midnight, but they don't want to hang on with me.
2 minutes to midnight, dude. I still got 2 hours till New Year's.
Yeah. I'm just looking at these things here.
So, Rob, tell me, dude. Let's talk about mindset for a second, man. While we're waiting for Christina to jump in here, dude, are you a Goggins fan?
I honestly, I can't say I know who that is.
David Goggins?
No.
Oh my goodness, bro. All right, we're gonna talk, dude. I like everything that you were telling me about mindset. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, like this guy's like David Goggins, man. Like I freaking love it. You were just talking about just holding yourself accountability and having those conversations, and he had what this. So he was. I'm not gonna spoil it for you. You can literally just, if you're on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, like go just type in David Goggins and start watching like his shit, dude. Like it's. Oh my gosh! If there's one book about mindset, dude, it's his book. It's called Can't Hurt Me.
Okay.
But oh my gosh, dude, it's amazing. So this guy's been like 300 pounds, like at 2 different points in his life. He's a Navy SEAL. He's gone on and done these ultra marathons and all these other things. And I'm not sure. We were talking about it a little bit earlier before you jumped on. I don't know if you caught it. It was probably one of the first things we were talking about. I don't know if you caught it. I don't want to repeat it if you've already caught it.
No, I haven't. I got on late. So.
Oh no, you're good, dude. You're good. But he goes in and he's talking about mindset, man. Like he does all this crazy shit. Like he'll go run like a 100-mile ultra marathon with like no prep. And he talks about this one time that he did it. And the night before, like he was a Navy SEAL and he was on his way out of the gym. And one of his buddies was like, "Hey, Goggins, get in here. Let's lift. We're gonna lift heavy." And he didn't want to go look like a pussy, so he went to go deadlift. And they were just benching and deadlifting and squatting heavy. And then knowing the next day, 12 hours later, that he was gonna have to go run 100 miles. And he was doing this to qualify for this ultra marathon. And he'd never ran. Like the last time he ran was like 6 months prior. And it was like a mile. Wow. And so he's just this big jacked, bodybuilder, Navy SEAL. And he went to go run that 100 miles, man. And he did it. I mean, he was jacked up by the mile 70, man. And he was pissing and shitting blood. Like it was running down his leg, dude. And he said it was like the worst thing that he's ever felt in his entire life, but it was just a testament of where he was in his mind. Yeah, that's it, dude. Oh my gosh, man, this guy's amazing.
Dude, it's mind over matter, and I've always believed that, and growing up for myself, like for me, it was always mind over matter. I was a high level athlete, and so for me, visualization was huge, right? And understanding that if you really believe you can do something, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. It's what you believe, and it's what you believe you're capable of doing. And so, when you get into a negative mindset, you lose that confidence that you had in yourself. And some people might not ever even have that confidence. They might not ever have confidence in themselves. And so they have to learn it. And I give more credit to those individuals that have to learn to have some confidence and some self-love for themselves than I do
100%.
for someone that was in my position, who had a shit ton of self-confidence growing up, on the athletic side of things. And so, but for me, I still believe that. I fully believe that it's mind over matter in almost anything in life. I mean, whether it comes to the physical side of ourselves, our bodies are so amazing in the way that they can heal themselves and regenerate and bounce back from injuries. And our mind is so untapped. It's so untapped. And, our mind is so capable of either setting us down the path we want to be on or taking us down the deep, dark rabbit hole. Right. It's either or. And so anytime for myself, when I, during this journey in this last year, really, the last several months in particular, for me, it was, I always knew I was not doing what I needed to do to be successful. I'm surrounded by the most amazing individuals, people I've met, people I haven't met. There's no excuse other than looking at yourself and saying you're not taking action. You're not doing what is necessary to succeed. You're not just letting yourself down. You're letting others down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And so when you are finally at a point, this is where, Tristan, I think you were asking me, what was it that pushed me through to that other side, is when you're finally at a point individually where you're just like, I'm tired of making excuses for myself. I'm tired of sitting in front of the computer and acting like I'm doing something, but at the end of an 8-hour day, I did not accomplish one task, not one. And I did not do one thing that will push me in the direction of being successful. Yet I will pretend and tell myself I was busy doing this, this, and this. I was busy all day, but accomplished nothing. Right. That's an easy mindset to fall into.
Yeah.
And then you get into this trap of always saying, well, I got to do this first. Well, I got to do this first. And then 2 hours later, you finally get off of Facebook, right? And stop watching TikTok videos.
Yeah.
And you haven't accomplished a damn thing.
Have you been watching my computer, Rob?
Right. See?
Rob's been watching me through my computer.
Right. So, I just finally got to a point where it was like, okay, I'm tired of this. I am tired of it. It doesn't matter what anybody else said. I mean, Pace, Jamil, Brent, any of those, they could have came and grabbed me by the hand and walked me through a process of a deal. And I still probably would not have been receptive enough to change my mindset until I was ready to do that. Now doing that is hard because you're so used to being in that negative space. That's easy to do. It's easier to stay there than it is to get out. So, it's to get out isn't going to be a day. It's not going to be, it's like gaining weight. You didn't gain 100 pounds in a day. It's not going to take a day to get rid of it. Right. It's incremental steps. It's one small decision that will lead to another small decision that will lead to another small decision, and keeping that good habit of good decisions going consistently enough to change one habit.
Yeah.
Right. And then you incrementally do the other ones. If you're not looking at everything all at once, you won't get overwhelmed. If you look at one thing at a time, you stay micro focused on one thing, then the overwhelmingness of everything doesn't creep in.
Right. Yeah. If you don't have a hypnotist handy to change that for you, just going in there with the mindset that you just need to be 1% better than you were the day before, man. And that's it. That's the secret sauce.
Yep. And that 1% might be doing one thing that I did not do the day before. It could be one thing, anything. If I told myself I'm going to call 5 people today, and I didn't call anybody, but did I do something that could lead me to calling somebody tomorrow? That might be your win for the day. That might be it. That might be the win that you need for one day to push you to the next day. And then the next day you call one person instead of 5, right? I mean, it's incremental changes, no matter how small they are, as long as they're moving in the right direction. And everybody's different. Everyone's different. Some people will be like, nope, I'm done. And they just make that switch immediately. Others, it's going to take longer. For me personally, it was doing it at my own pace and recognizing that it's okay to do it at my own pace. Quit worrying about what other people think about you, especially when you're not talking to any of those people.
Oh my God.
They don't know what the hell's going on with you.
Bro.
Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That nobody knows what's going on with you, especially if you're not talking to them. So quit worrying about what you think they think of you.
And that's one of the biggest takeaways from the landmark courses and other ones is we do things to impress people, and we're worried more about what other people think about what we're doing than what we think about we're doing ourselves. And I think that that could be a turning point for many people. There is that, you know, we buy things that we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like, and that's the instant gratification in America. You know, we're all guilty of it to a degree. And you know, that's where bad debt comes around, and that's where, you know, people driving Lambos that shouldn't be driving Lambos yet. You know, they get ahead of the game. Do you know what I mean? And again, I think that's the wholesale hamster wheel. They, not trying to generalize or be rude to wholesalers, but some people are in the position where they're going for the bling before the long-term wealth strategy, which fortunately we're in the mentorship and a community that is really striving towards more of the long-term gain. And then once that's taken care of, the legacy is there, then we can look at the shorter-term stuff and have some more fun.
Yeah. Yep. 100%. And, you know, and speaking of community, man, like, Tristan, you were talking about, you were using an analogy about like when babies start to walk.
Yeah.
And to go along with what Rob was saying about, you know, not caring what other people think. I mean, when you got a kid, Rob, you got kids, you said, yeah?
I do. I have a 5-year-old. Yep.
You got a 5-year-old?
One 5-year-old daughter. Yep.
You guys gonna have any more?
If it was up to me, yes, but the wife said no. So the boss.
Ours was the opposite. I said we were done at 3. I went and got a vasectomy, and about 3 or 4 weeks later, we ended up with baby number 4, dude, all under the age of 6. So
that's awesome.
Crazy. Yeah. You never think it's going to happen to you, and then it does.
Get it all done at once, man.
Yeah.
But you watch your kids grow up, man. You watch them, you know, starting to learn how to walk. And what happens when you watch your kids learn how to walk, man? Like they fall down. Does everybody in the room say, no, don't get up. Do not stay down. No, of course not.
Right.
Everyone's like, get up. Do it again. Let's do it again. Let's walk. You know, and it's crazy that when you think about it like that, but when you grow up and you try to go out on your own and start your own business, everybody is so quick to say, no, don't do that.
Right.
Stay down. And I just love that you brought that up. And I just wanted to make a point because I recently, within the last week, man, had a close family member to me reach out to me and write me just a freaking novel. And they just don't understand that the point of this has not, he wrote me a message about, it's not all about luxuries and you need to be focusing on your kids and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like he didn't understand the mindset that this is for my kids. It's not about the money, dude. It's about the freedom.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
You know, work a couple years like nobody will, so you can live the rest of your life like nobody can.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, it's all for your 100%. Family, man. It's all for your family. 100%. So, and
you know, it's funny, brother.
Yeah, go ahead, brother.
I'm so glad you. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm so glad you said that because my 5-year-old is. We all think our kids are sharp as tacks, right? And so, you know, of course, I think no differently of my daughter. She's a perfectionist at 5 years old, and so one of the things we talk about with her is when she gets frustrated because something didn't work the first time is take a deep breath and try again. Mm-hmm. And she said, "What? It doesn't work." And I said, "Well, what did you learn from last time?" "Well, that didn't work that way." "Okay, let's try something new." So when she succeeds, she's like, "Oh, look at that! Look what I did! Look at and that translates into even being adults. It's like, listen, don't get so frustrated because something didn't work the first time and you failed. Okay, so what did you learn from that experience, and how can we change it to try something different the next time so that we can be successful, right?" And it's incredible how we have these people. And look, what you said about your close family friend telling you, you know, the luxury that these things aren't important. You need to spend time with your family. They don't get it, and it's that mindset of it's always, well, the problem with that is this. The reason that won't work is this. You know, you need to be careful with what you're doing because of this. It's like, well, wait a second. I'm doing what I'm doing so that I can have more freedom and time with my kid when we get, as we grow up, as she grows
Mhm.
up, I want more time with her. I don't want less time with her. I want more time. I have a
Yes.
brother who works as a firefighter for the city of Salem. And I mean, that career in itself is a high status career, right? High attention, high status career. But the life expectancy of a retired firefighter is like 65. So
Wow.
my brother works his ass off, risks his life, makes a good living for what? So that when he retires, he's got like 10 years maybe. That's not what that I want for my life, right? And so, believe me, I'm actively working on getting my brother involved with what I'm doing as well. So he's got a longer life expectancy, but it's that type of mindset, from family, friends that don't understand. They don't understand what we're trying to accomplish isn't so that we can acquire the money and the luxuries and the accessories. It's so that we can acquire time. We can acquire the time we want to spend with our loved ones. Right. And this is
100%.
a means of getting that.
That's it, dude.
Yep. Love it.
Well, Tristan, now we're all going to have more time to start that band.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Tristan wanted to start he wants to start what is it, a British death metal thing. I don't know. He was describing it.
I need dreadlocks.
Yeah.
For that.
You need
yeah, some
there
kind
you
of
go.
weird I don't even really know what you would call it. Some kind of
you need
death
dreadlocks
metal,
for a death metal group, huh?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that brings us on to your 5-year-old daughter. So Jesse and I were talking the other week about we're all talking about creating our legacy, but what about creating a legacy with our kids, or creating our kids' legacy with our kids, so they have their own legacy in addition to ours? Obviously, having two legacies is probably less difficult to do than just one legacy on their own. Do you see what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
So by that token, we're going to do a series of podcasts. We haven't got a name for it yet, but we're going to look at parents that have kids of different ages, and some that have got kids that are very successful because of things that they did when they were young, to talk about what did you do to raise your kid? Did you just beat into them that they needed to understand money and this is how it came out? Did they observe what you did? Did you give them books to read? How did you bring them into the mind, ability to understand numbers and money, and how theoretically easy it is to make a shit ton of money with not very much to start out with? One example I was talking to Jesse about, my eldest is 16. She got some money from the insurance company which she can't touch. It was the 18. I can't touch it, but I told her, look, I will lend you in theory the amount of money that you've been given, which you can't touch for 2 years, and I'll let you invest that much money, $200 into my flip, and I'll give you the return on what you would get for investing that much money into my flip. So she, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if I lend you $2,300 or $2,200, after the flip, you're probably going to come away with between $7,000 and $10,000, and that $2,200 back. What? So I said, but I'm not going to do it unless you understand how those numbers work, and I need you to understand. I'm not just going to give you 8 or 10 grand just for shits and giggles, because that'll make you entitled. But if you understand what I'm doing, I'll then, well, can I have that? Can I have that money? I said, later, but then we'll put that $10,000 into the next flip, which might give you a 3 to 5 times return on that money, which might then become 50 grand. And then if you do it again, it might become $250,000 within, 9 to 12 months. And she was kind of blown away by that. Do you know what I mean? The way that it can grow quickly. And I said, I'm not trying to push you into real estate. I just want you to understand how easy it is, and that you could do something without putting a lot of effort in if you wanted to. And I'll help both of you build this. So I don't even have to build a legacy for them, although obviously I will. Because I joked with her the other day. I said, I've updated my estate planning, and the dog's home is going to get all of the money. What? I like dogs and cats. There's no point in me giving you money if you haven't earned it. Do you know what I mean? But I was joking.
Absolutely.
But I want both of them to understand, like, my youngest daughter, well, they're both great artists, but my younger daughter particularly loves art and does a lot more. I'd love her to create NFTs and understand a little bit about that, because I think she could create a huge collection of NFTs, which could make her a shit ton of money. But it's got to the point, her mum was talking to her about it, and she kind of not really into that idea. And like earlier, I was talking to my eldest about it. I said, "Oh, for a birthday, should I get her like a iPad Pro or something so you can, do these digitally?" Her cat's come to visit, and she comes in and she kicks things off the table. But she'll just kick stuff over. So
we know who's the boss.
Yeah, you're an asshole. Go away. Come on. She is so nice. So she's such a sweet cat. But she's planning our murders constantly.
He's got a dog and a cat.
Yeah.
Oh, and they get along, huh?
Yeah, they do. They chase you. Finn chase it around sometimes.
Dude, guess what he named his dog, bro? You'll never guess. You want to hear this?
What is it?
Finn, Fynn, Diesel.
Actually, I think I did know that.
Dude, how sick is that?
Finn sounds familiar.
Finn Diesel.
Right. That's awesome. Wait, is that the Labradoodle? Is that what it is?
Old English Sheepdog.
Oh, I knew it was curly haired and big.
Yeah, that was my second guess too. An Old English Sheepdog.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's actually called Surfing, but he was monikered Finn Diesel by this guy, and I like it.
I love it. That's awesome.
So yeah. No,
I love that. I love that idea, Tristan. I mean, my with my daughter, what we're teaching her now is because she's an only child. She's starting to slide into that entitled mindset a little bit, and through no fault, she's 5, right? No fault of her own. She's 5 years old, but we're actively working on helping her to understand, to be grateful, and that you're not entitled to anything, and your actions will determine the consequence that you get, whether it's a good consequence or a negative consequence, and so when she gets a little bit older, I still show her certain things that I'm doing. I show her how I'm working on things, and I want to continue and involve her in these things, because I want to leave her a legacy of no debt. I don't want, if I pass away, I don't want her to inherit my debt. I want her to inherit a successful business that if she chooses to run it, she has all the knowledge and wherewithal to do so successfully. If she chooses not to and she wants to liquidate everything, that's her choice. I'm okay with that. But I want to give her the tools to be able to be successful, more successful than I am, by showing her what it means to work for something, what it means to appreciate things and have an attitude of gratitude instead of an attitude of entitlement. And that starts now. It starts now. The habits they learn now are the habits they're going to take with them throughout their life. So
and they always learn from what they see, not what they're told.
Absolutely.
Think about, so I grew up with a really poor mindset, and where did that come from? I didn't think very highly of money. I thought there were a whole bunch of rich assholes, and somehow I was on a higher moral platform, because I was like, I don't need that money. Like I'd just be a greedy asshole or something like that. You know what I mean? I was given my excuses to not be wealthy or try to take that route where I'm financially free. But where does all that come from? It's kind of it's a learned trait. You know what I mean? You grow up that way, and it just passes on, from generation to generation. So just to go along with what both of you guys were saying, I told Tristan a couple weeks ago, my oldest, so I got 4 kids all under the age of 6, and my oldest lost a tooth, and he came to me one morning with $1 under his pillow from the tooth fairy, and he brings me this $1 and he says, "Dad, I want to learn how to invest this." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" And you always think you're like,
"What did you just say?"
Always, yeah. Exactly. Oh, it's almost like you just said a cuss word or something. Like, what the hell did you just say to me, son?
What?
But you always think as a parent, like your kids are watching you, and you always hear this. You know what I mean? You always hear you got to be mindful about what you're saying and what you're thinking and doing in front of your kids, because they're picking on that shit, and you don't think about it necessarily until they go and do something. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Once they start cussing, then you're like, oh, okay, well, he must have heard that from me, you know?
Right.
But,
Exactly.
It's crazy that he came to me and said that. And I was like, oh my
Yep.
gosh, this is super dope.
That's incredible.
So I said,
That's so
son, give me
incredible.
that dollar. And if you can hold off on spending it and give it to me in 6 months, I'll give you $10. And so so it kind of, we started this thing, and
That's awesome.
just kind of go along with how, you know, we were raised. I saw this thing and I thought this would be so cool to implement and, you know, to my kids. But I grew up, and maybe you guys maybe did too, but did you guys ever get an allowance for like doing chores and stuff?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, I got an allowance. I got $7 a week for doing my chores. I'd always save up, make sure I had $20 at any given time, so I'd go buy a Metallica CD or something if I so chose.
That's awesome.
But
Yeah.
I read something that was interesting, and I thought, you know what, I want to start doing this with my kids. They're going to do their chores regardless because they live here. But what I'm going to incentivize them with money is not their chores, but it is to read books. And so I'm starting with that book. There's a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
I've heard of that. I've heard of it.
So it's got a sister book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. And I went and bought that for my son. And so we're going to start going through that together. And that's part of this podcast that we're going to be doing is, you know, doing these with our kids, and then, you know, sharing that, documenting that, and allowing people to kind of go on this journey as well. So it'd be interesting, you know, to get you and your daughter's perspective, you know, at some point in the year on what you guys are doing and how that is progressing, and things you've learned, things she's learned, and all that kind of stuff.
I love that. You know, it's funny because I grew up poor, and like you were saying, you know, it's a learned trait. It's a learned characteristic that you think you can only amount to a certain level in life because of what you've learned and saw, right, as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, yeah.
and you know, everyone talks about the fear of failure, right? Well, there's also the fear to succeed. And when you don't feel that you deserve to succeed, you will find ways to self-sabotage opportunities that will make you successful in life.
Oh.
And in order to change that I don't want to leave that legacy for my child. I want my child to have this abundance mindset. I want her to have this I can do anything and I can accomplish anything mindset, because that's what I grew up seeing. That's what I learned from my parents. You know, you know, her mother is amazing. Her mother she's got the best work ethic I've ever met. I always said that if I had my wife's work ethic, I'd have been a millionaire years ago. She's just amazing, right? So it's like, but knowing what I grew up with and the mindset that I had as a kid and as an adult, even, that's part of this journey I've had this last year, is getting out of that mindset that I don't deserve to succeed. You know, and I've sabotaged opportunities in the past, and I fully am aware of where they are and what they are. And knowing that, that's one of the things that I'm actively correcting, so that I don't inevitably pass that negative trait to my daughter.
Right.
You know, I want her to have that abundance mindset. You can accomplish anything, and you deserve it. You deserve to be successful. You deserve to have the life that you want. That doesn't mean you think you're better than anybody else. That doesn't mean you're a better person than anybody. It means that you are allowing yourself to succeed because you are doing what it takes to succeed, and you're allowing yourself to give back to those who aren't as successful, to teach them that they deserve to succeed.
Yes.
So, yeah, I love this idea, man. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, we're gonna get talk to Joseph and Crystal, because they got a daughter that's 6 or 7. David Concepcion's gonna come on and talk to us as well. There's a couple of people that have got kids. They're in real estate, and they've been very, very successful. One of them, I think, does or used to work for Dean Graziosi here in town.
Okay.
Got to talk to them at some point very soon. But yeah, I think that it's important to look at parents and the kids at different ages, because once you get past a certain point, you know, my kids had a problem with people with Teslas for some reason for a while. Oh, rich bastards, or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, we're going to be worth collectively the same or more, and that's not to make us better than anybody else, than those people. We're going to be driving a Tesla or the equivalent or whatever it is if we choose. But why is that now going to be a block to becoming that, or is that going to be a problem between you and me now? Because if I become one of the Tesla drivers, is that now going to be a problem? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to look at those things. But yeah. Well, I appreciate it, Rob. I think let's wrap for the evening, but let's talk again soon. I'd love to talk to you some more offline as well, and just sort of see how we can, work on this and have you participate. And I love you, bro. I appreciate you. Thank you. And I've got to come to Modesto and come and hang out with you guys.
Absolutely. Give me a few months so I can walk again. I just had ACL reconstruction surgery a couple days ago, so
that's all right, bro.
I'll
push your wheelchair and
there you go.
I'll carry one of your crutches so it's not as heavy for you.
There you go. We'll go cause some havoc in Modesto.
Yeah, awesome, dude.
Love it.
Have you met Steve Anderson or Mike Imbriglio yet?
Have I what?
Mike Imbriglio and Steve Anderson. Have you met them yet?
Not in person.
You'll love them, dude. They're amazing people. We should get together somewhere. But I'm talking to Doug, and I'm going to talk to you about starting a NorCal meetup group for Creative JV. We've got one in SoCal and 5 other groups. But we need one in NorCal as well. So I'd love you to be part of that too. All right.
Love to. Love you, brother. It's great talking to you, Jesse. Pleasure talking to you, man. We're going to have to chat some more for sure.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Pleasure's all mine, brother. You have yourself a good rest of your night and a road to a fast recovery.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Take it easy.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
All right, boys. Thank you.
Later, buddy.
Bye.
All right.